Hello, so my name is Simon, and today I'm going to be sharing some insights into assessment centres and how to do well at assessment centres. I'm going to try and condense into the next literally couple of minutes is everything I've learned from 25 years of running and observing assessment centres run by large employers, small employers, looking to recruit their apprentices, their school leavers and their graduates. So I'm going to just give you some really top tips on how to prepare for and do really well at assessment centres. Just a couple of insights into what to expect around assessment centres. Assessment centres can be for a whole day, they might be half a day, and some companies even invite you to kind of come down the night before and have dinner with them after that evening, and then go into the assessment centre the next day. So they do vary in length and duration. On the whole, most assessment days will have anything between 10 and 20 people on it. Sometimes, on a very few occasions, some companies run really big assessment centres with like a couple of hundred people on it. But on the whole, the numbers are quite small. They're kind of 10 to 20 on the day. In terms of why companies do assessment centres, they usually come at the end of the process. So you've already done all the other things ahead of it. So you'll have applied, and probably done video interviews and telephone interviews and tests and all kinds of other things. So it's usually the final or penultimate stage of the process. And the reason companies do it is, to date, what you will have done is written about your skills and capabilities and interest in the company on your CV or application form, or you'll have talked about them in your telephone interview or your video interview. So they'll have heard you talk about these great skills and this enthusiasm you've got for the company. But what the assessment centre is actually about is giving you the opportunity to evidence them. So to actually show that you've got these skills, you've got this passion, you've got this enthusiasm for the opportunity. So that's why assessment centres are so important to companies, and that's also why actually they're a really good and effective tool for companies to make their final decision. The other great thing about assessment centres, of course, is it gives you an opportunity to spend a whole day with the organisation or half a day and find out lots about them. Because it's really important for you to be sure, if you're successful on an assessment centre, that it's the right job opportunity for you if they offer it. So the assessment centre is also about you understanding more about the organisation. In terms of what typically kind of happens and what you're likely to do, they do vary from assessment centre to assessment centre, so please don't take this as this will happen every time. But typically, the kinds of things you'll be asked to do, there'll be some kind of introduction to the company, and they'll talk about the organisation. You may hear from different people and they'll talk about the programme. But what you'll typically be asked to do is some form of group exercise. You'll probably have to do some interviews, you might have to do some more online tests, you might have to do a presentation. But what they're basically going to do is put you in different situations so you can demonstrate different skills. So there'll be one-on-one situations for you where you might just be presenting to one or two people or being interviewed. They'll put you in a group situation where you'll be working with a team of other grads or apprentices on the day. And it's all designed to put you in different situations and give you the opportunity to demonstrate the skills and the competencies and the strengths and the capabilities that you've got. So, there are some other videos which are going to give you more insight into interviews and how to do well at those, online tests to do well at those. But what I did want to talk about a little bit is the group exercise that happens on the assessment day. So the group exercise can come in a number of different formats, usually be with a quantity of you, so it might be with all 10 of you. Or if it's a big assessment day, 15 or 16 people, they might split into small groups or smaller groups. So you might be in a group of 6 or 7. And they might give you a topic. They might give you some very specific information, you as an individual, that you've got to read and absorb, and then have a wider discussion with the team and come up with an outcome at the end of it. So it can come in lots of different formats. I think the key thing to understand about the group exercise is what they're looking to do is how, if they give you lots of information, how well can you absorb that information and then use that information to have a discussion? How well do you listen to others? Are you swayed by what other people have to say? Are you persuasive yourself? Are you good at taking a lead in terms of moving the group forward to make a decision, making sure you complete the task on time? So these are the kinds of behaviours that they're going to be looking for you to exhibit. And if I think about loads of assessment centres I've done over the years, one of the things that definitely holds people back, or people who don't do so well, is when they tend to be a bit quiet. Now, if you are one of those people, that's okay, because often what will happen is that when you do contribute, it's really impactful. So don't feel you've got to be the loudest in these group exercises. In fact, those people usually don't do well on assessment days. What is important is when you've got something to say, it contributes and it moves the discussion forward. So it really has an impact on the wider group. So but those are some of the kinds of behaviours. So you need to make sure that you do enough so that they can see you in action. Because usually there's an assessor in the background observing you and seeing how you interact and behave. Other things you'll do on a day is, say, presentations. So that might be, they might have given you a topic in advance that you've got to prepare and maybe send some slides through, and then you talk through the presentation. They say, well, there's a whole other video we're going to be doing on presentation skills, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but sometimes they might give you a presentation on the day, give you a bit of time to prepare for it and see how you do. And again, this is about how well you can communicate, how well you can interact with a smaller audience, how persuasive you can be you get your point across in a way that people understand, and also how well do you respond to the questions that come at you. But more tips on that on another video. Online tests, they might ask you to do the tests again. If you've done the online tests already, they might ask you to do them on the day again. Why do they do that? Basically see if you've got a mate to do your maths test for you. So that's the only reason they're doing it. And the other thing there will be interviews. So that might be with a couple of people, there might be 2 separate interviews, and there might be, depending on the role, there might be doing what they call technical interviews, so to understand some of your technical capability. And do remember with this one, it's not about expecting you to have all the technical skills, they just want to know where you're at in terms of your technical capability. But there'll also may well be one around your kind of wider skills and also your motivation. You know, why do you want to join this organisation? Why do you want to do this kind of role? So again, really think about that in advance. You can prepare some really good answers for that. And the other little tip I'd give you with interviews, when they come to the end of the interviewer will say, any questions you want to ask me? Don't fall into the trap of saying, no, thanks very much, you've covered everything. Interviewers hate that and it's so disappointing. Have some pre-prepared questions, and it's perfectly acceptable to go, actually, I've prepared some questions I'd like to ask, do you mind if we go through them? And you can pull out your phone or your tablet, a piece of paper, and you can ask them those questions, because actually it shows you bothered to prepare and there's some key information you want to get. So, say more specific interview tips on a future video. But those are some of the kinds of typical things they're looking for, that will happen to you on the day. And in terms of what employers are looking for, I've kind of talked about those across the different exercises. So your ability to work with others, communicate, influence, absorb lots of maybe quite complicated data and make use of it. But again, think about the skills that you need to demonstrate. And most job ads will talk about the kinds of skills they're looking for. Some companies actually put on their website what skills and competencies and behaviours and strengths they want. So do that preparation in advance and then think about on the day through the different activities how you can demonstrate that skill and that capability. And before I wrap up, the final tip I would give you is on most assessment days, there's some form of social that goes on. It might be lunch, it might be if it's dinner the night before, but usually there's some kind of lunch where they'll feed you. And often they'll have they'll have some of the assessors there over lunch, or they might bring in some grads or some apprentices. Big tip, be proactive and go and talk to those people. Don't just hang out with all the other grads or apprentices on the assessment day. Go and talk to those people and have some good, smart, intelligent questions to ask. And that's important because when you go home at the end of an assessment centre, all the assessors sit down and they talk about everybody and they've got scores for everybody. But one of the things that really makes an influence is the way, how proactive you've been, your level of passion and enthusiasm for the role, and those opportunities you get to do that are less formal. So it's not the group exercise, it's not an interview where you're being asked all these questions. Do take those opportunities to show your enthusiasm, be proactive and go and talk to people, because things like that can make a difference. Because in the end, the recruiting managers from that organisation will be looking at you and they'll be thinking, yes, have they got the skills and competencies and strengths I'm looking for, but also, are they going to fit into my team? Are they going to be the kind of people that I want to work with? So you and who you are, your personality, do let that come across, because it will be an important part of the final decision-making process. So I hope you found that useful. I know I've covered a huge amount in a very short period of time, but I hope that's given you some hints and tips to prepare for assessment centres. So all the best with it, and I look forward to seeing you, I'm sure, on another video.